All right, so good afternoon, happy Wednesday, and happy early Thanksgiving, everyone. My name is Miss Tucker, and I'm one of our educational associates of college and career readiness. And here I have my wonderful partner, Miss Ford. You want to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Inez Ford. I work at Mervo as an ed associate, and I am so happy that you were able to join us.
Great. And this afternoon, we have something really cool and special planned for you guys. It's a college tour. Today, we're going to be visiting Bowie State University right before the break. So, what better way to celebrate a holiday or a school day before a holiday than going on a virtual field trip? Since we can't be together. So, we have some really great stuff in store for you guys today. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. So far, I see a couple people on with us now. So, I'm really happy about that. And we can go ahead and get started.
All righty. Okay. Um, So the goal of today is that you're going to learn a little bit more about Bowie State University. You're going to find out about their majors, and we're going to talk a little bit about the term HBCU. So what is an HBCU? An HBCU stands for Historically Black College or University. And more specifically, the Higher Education Act of 1965 defined a HBCU as any historically Black college or university that was established prior to 1964, whose principal mission was and is the education of Black Americans. Because basically, before 1964, as I'm sure you know because you are in history classes, schools were segregated. So African Americans were unable to attend any college they wanted to. So there were specific colleges that were built and that were designed for African American students. And now, obviously, in 2020, any student can attend wherever they want. But those schools that have that history that were designed specifically for African American students have the label HBCU. And in the state of Maryland, we have four HBCUs. We have Bowie State University, we have Coppin, we have Morgan, we have University of Maryland Eastern Shore. I believe Ms. Tucker is a graduate of Howard University, which is an HBCU in DC. I got my master's degree from Bowie State University, again, at HBCU in Prince George's County, Maryland. And so, but I went to a non-HBCU for my undergraduate degree, so where I did my first 4 years. And so we're not trying to sway you one way or the other. We just want you to know what an HBCU is because it's a term you're going to hear often. And we want to introduce you to one HBCU that's right in your backyard, and that's Bowie State. Bowie State University is located about 45 minutes outside of Washington, D.C., and about an hour from Baltimore. So it's a really good location. You really are in the middle of both cities. You can jump on the MARC train. Many students at Bowie get internships in Washington, D.C., and they take the MARC train, which is a local train that can take you into the city. It runs right on campus. I took it myself when I was in grad school. And so, like, you can't be Bowie State University for location. You really do have access to both DC and Baltimore. But rather than talk about Bowie, we're actually going to I'm going to start the virtual tour and let you learn a little bit about Bowie State yourself. Okay.
Thank you for that.
But before we begin, did I go? Oh, okay. So Bowie State was founded in 1865. So again, it was founded before 1964. So when it was founded, African American students could only attend specific universities, and so it was designed to educate African American students. The average GPA is a 3.15. Some attend some sorry, some Bowie State University students you might know of. Wale attended Bowie State University, and if you know who Toni Braxton is, and many of the Braxton sisters also attended Bowie State University. It's considered a mid-sized school. It's about 5,000 students, so it's not too small, but it's also not large like a University of Maryland College Park or Virginia Tech. So if you're looking kind of for that in between where you won't know everybody, but your professors will know their name, I can attest to you as a former Bowie student, your professors will know your name, and it's a great school to attend. So we are going to get started on the Bowie State University virtual tour. Okay.
When you talked about HBCUs earlier, reminded me of the shirt I have on. I was like, this is the perfect day to wear my HBCU rock shirt.
Exactly. Miss Tucker came dressed for the occasion. Okay, so give me 1 second because we are going to get started. And you can see a little bit, you can see the school info. I won't read it. You can see what the address is. Obviously, it's a public HBCU. You can get your bachelor's, master's, and PhD at Bowie. Miss Tucker, I'm just looking for the link.
They're on the side.
Virtual tour. There
Yeah.
it is. Okay.
so we can
All right.
virtually walk through the campus. And like we said before, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We're an intimate group today, so we can be attentive to your questions.
Okay.
It might just be where you have to kind of pan around.
Okay. All righty. So this is the academic quad. So you can kind of see when you are on campus, this is kind of like the main area where the different buildings are at. And you can just get an idea. There's flags. It's like a little water area, but like it's a very green campus. Like I said, it's a medium-sized campus. It's definitely suburban. As I said, it is outside of both Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. It's actually located in Prince George's County, Maryland. But again, like it gives you that suburban feel if you're looking for a school that's not in the heart of the city, but not far from the city. Bowie is definitely a good choice. And so we'll give you a little bit of a tour of the campus quad. And this is where, again, a lot of the buildings are at, and this is where students are at. Like if you go on Bowie State's campus, you see students walking back and forth to class. So again, you can see it's very suburban and it's medium sized. It's not huge, but it's not small and many buildings are being redone. So the campus definitely has a newer feel to it. So again, you can take a look. That is an academic building. And so if you were to go to Bowie State, you might have a class in this building. This is the prep.
Before you go on, from the campus quad, is that a space where students can spend time and study, or is that just you're just passing through from class?
So it's just like an outdoor area. I mean, you occasionally see people sitting on benches, but for the most part, it's just more like a path to get you to the different buildings on the campus. And we're going to show you the residential quad. So this is where some of the dorms are located. So you can get an idea of what that looks like. And we're actually going to take you inside a residence hall as well. So those are a couple, and they're typical of a medium-sized school. If you go to a large university, you'll see those large high rises. I know Howard University has a few, University of Maryland College Park has a few, but for the most part, the dorms at Bowie State are a little bit smaller. And so we're going to take you inside an actual residence hall so you can see what one looks like on the inside. So, and this is kind of the outside.
It looks really nice. It's nicely up. The buildings look updated. Nice landscaping. Are you familiar with the how do you pronounce that? McGough?
No, I mean, I went to grad school at Bowie, so I didn't live on campus. I mean, I've certainly walked by, but I actually haven't been inside. So I am going to click on the video to see what it looks like inside because I'm not familiar, and we are going to learn together. So this is inside of one of the dorms.
Students love to see the inside. This is nice.
Yeah. So you can see there's a little kitchenette. When I went to University of Maryland College Park, we definitely did not have that. We had like one big kitchen area for the floor. So there are traditional dorms where you have like just a room. You're in a room and there's a big bathroom usually in the middle of the building. So you don't get your individual bathroom, where you don't get your individual kitchen. And then there are dorms like this where you get sort of a room, you get a little living room area, you get a kitchenette area. And so generally freshmen live in sort of the not so great dorms. And then when you become a sophomore, junior, and senior, that's when you usually get access to dorms like this. But every school is a little bit different. At Bowie, perhaps freshmen can live in a dorm like this, but usually this looks more like an upperclassman dorm. But if you're interested in attending Bowie State, that's something that you would ask about when you take either a virtual tour, or you attend an admission session, or you actually go on campus. Ask those sort of questions. What kind of dorm would you be living in? Do you have, some people it's important to live in a co-ed dorm. Some people don't want to live in a co-ed dorm. So those are some of the questions that you want to ask when you are getting a tour.
And in
And so you
that,
can
I'm
see,
going to drop in some expense or the cost of housing at Bowie State University. So far, it's ranging between 2,500 and about 5,000 per semester. So you should know that per semester means for the entire year, you'll be paying between $5,000 to $10,000 for your housing. So that's definitely something to account for when we talk about looking for scholarships or using our FAFSA funds to afford the cost of living.
and one thing that students do, and this is true at any university, you can become what's called a resident assistant usually after your freshman year. And what that means is just what it says. You assist the different residents that live in the dorm. So let's say, two roommates are not getting along. They can come to their RA and they can talk about it, and the RA can try to resolve it, or maybe somebody's having some other sort of issue. You literally, most floors, there's an RNA, generally an RA on each floor, and that person really is there to serve as a counselor, to mediate to mediate conflict between people, and just to make your experience living in the dorm better. And so when you serve as a resident assistant, you apply, it's like a job, you get free housing. So it's one way to, it's a way, if you consider yourself extroverted and you don't mind talking to people and you're really comfortable, sometimes having conversations with people that you may not know well, it's something you can consider. Usually, again, you have to at least be a sophomore because they want you to live on campus for at least a year before you can, really figure out like how to help people living on campus. But it's a great opportunity. And again, it's one way that you can cut down some of those costs. You apply to be a resident assistant. And I'm going to show you a classroom. This is the Praxis Lab. And so this classroom is in the education building. And so the Praxis is a test that teachers have to take in the state of Maryland in order to be certified to teach. And so again, this classroom is in the education building. As you can see, the students are on a computer because they are practicing for the Praxis. So again, and the one thing I would say about Bowie State, one of the benefits of attending a medium-sized school is that you don't have super duper large classes. Most of the classes you take at Bowie, there are a few exceptions, but for most of the classes, they're not going to be any bigger than the classes you're in currently in high school. Most classes, they're not over 30 students, and so for that reason, some people choose to go to medium and small schools because they don't necessarily want to be in a large lecture hall. If you attend a Howard University or University of Maryland College Park, you will have classes that have 200 and 300 students in them. Not too many classes, but you'll have a few. If you go to a medium-sized school or a small school, oftentimes you don't have that. So those are just things to think about when you're starting to figure out like what school you want to apply to and or what school you want to go to, what makes you feel comfortable. So again, Bowie, medium size in the middle. You may have the entire time you're at Bowie, you might have what they consider a lecture class. Well, that's generally over 100 people, maybe one or two, if even that throughout your college time. There's some people, depending on what you major, you won't have a class bigger than 30 people. So again, things to think about when you're figuring out where you want to go. And we're going to show you the gym. And so you can see they have a pool, there's a basketball court, there's a tennis court, pretty much everything you need to stay in shape they have at the gym. It's a pretty nice gym. I have been inside of it before. They have a couple different basketball courts. You can always find somebody playing basketball in the gym. And it's a great way to shave off what they call the freshman 15. You'll hear that term when you get to college, but generally people gain 15 pounds their freshman year because they're eating good, they're staying up late, not necessarily getting a lot of sleep because they're studying, and so there's a lot of eating going on and not so much working out. So it's called the freshman 15. So wherever you end up going to school, definitely figure out how to get to the gym on a regular basis so you do not become a victim of the freshman 15. But they're just showing you the pool and the gym. But literally, the gym is huge, and everything that you could possibly need to work out is in that gym.
And if you're interested,
and then I'm also going to show you the Wiseman Center. And
okay,
this is like this.
Link, to the athletic center for students who might be interested.
Okay, I'm sorry. Say that again.
I'm just dropping.
I didn't hear you.
The athletics center.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Ms. Tucker. And this is the Wiseman Center, and this is most campuses have what they call a student center. And that's a building that just had like a lot of your eateries are there, so you can grab a bite to eat. There's usually couches where you can study. There might be a computer lab, and pretty much generally the campus bookstore is usually located in this building as well. So it's kind of like a campus hub. They're just showing you one room where there are computers, but in the Wiseman Center, there's a place to eat. I believe they either already have or they're building a bowling alley. It's more like a hangout spot. Every campus has one. College Park has one. There's a bowling alley. There's a swimming pool. Like everyone has like a student center, and that it is what it sounds like. It is kind of this. It's usually in the center of campus, and it's a place that people go again to get a bite to eat, to study. And so they're showing you one room in the Wiseman Center, and I'm sure when you take a campus tour, especially if you go in person, you'll see the student center at whatever university you go to. What's the student center at Howard called? I forgot.
Blackburn.
Miss Tucker?
Yeah.
Blackburn. Okay, yes, yes, yes. I knew as soon as you said it, it would come to me.
Yeah.
And so at University of Maryland College Park, it's called the Dale Stamp Student Union. So everybody just calls it the Stamp. And so again, it's just kind of that central location that everybody goes to.
Yeah, sometimes you'll have campus events also on your student center as well. There's normally where your dining hall. Do they have a dining hall on this list?
Uh, Dude, you know what? I don't know. Let me look and see.
So
I know there is one. Huh.
Definitely where you dine, where you eat. And that link also included in
Yeah.
the chat as well. What I just found out about Bowie is if you live on campus, you are required to have a meal plan if you are a resident on the campus. So that's just another expense to account for. The meal plans are pretty reasonable, between about 2,000 per semester. So again, per semester, we're multiplying by 2, that's 4,000, around 4,000 a year, just so we can keep track of our costs.
And it doesn't look like they have a link. But I'll just share, I'll show you, excuse me, not share, just some basic information about the school. As you can showed that before, as you can see, it is an HBCU. It's been established. It was established in 1865. It is suburban. Here's a little bit of information about admissions. If you're interested in attending Bowie State University, you can see SAT scores, and this information was from last year, because actually this year many students understandably do not have SAT scores because of what happened with COVID and schools closing right around the time juniors would have been taking the SAT. And so admissions representatives do understand that. Most colleges are becoming test optional for that reason, but in the event you did take the SAT, you can take, or the ACT, you can take a look and see like where how you stand in relation to the average freshman that they admitted last year. So you can see
it is test optional. You do want to reach out to the admissions reps if you're interested in obtaining any scholarships to the university, just to ask what their new policy might be around awarding merit scholarships without submitting test scores.
that's a good point, because before, in years past, if you wanted to qualify for a scholarship at pretty much any school, you had to submit either the SAT or the ACT. But obviously, most students do not have SAT or ACT scores, so they understand that. And so you can see again, it's a medium-sized school, just over 5,000 students. Undergrad are students who are pursuing their first 4-year degree. So you will be undergraduate students, because when you click on a website at any university, it's going to say undergraduate admissions or graduate admissions. Graduate admissions is for students who have already graduated and received their degree. So please don't click on that, because I've had students in the past fill out a graduate application and wonder what happens to their admissions. You are an undergraduate student, you have not graduated yet. And so when you are on any school's website, you should be clicking in the undergraduate area. And so you can see there are about 3,500 full-time undergrads. Most of them probably live on campus. Because Bowie State University, I would say most students do live on campus. There are some that commute. You can see there are part-time undergrads. Graduate enrollment, again, those graduate students are people who have already received their 4-year degree and they're working on their master's or their PhD. And for the young men, you can see that there's almost about 2 women for every 1 young man. So yeah. But you can see a little bit about you can see a little bit about the student. They call it demographics. And then in terms of programs, Bowie State pretty much has they're big programs. They're really known for nursing and for education, but they have a whole bunch of different programs that you can pursue, different majors that you can pursue. and you can see the in-state and out-of-state cost. And so again, they're giving you undergraduate information. And I'm really quickly, I'm going to pull up their list of majors in the event that somebody is interested. Let's see. So they have roughly 23 majors. And just as you're thinking about what the types of schools that you want to go to, they have 23 undergraduate majors, excuse me. Some of these are master's degrees, but I'm just going to scroll slowly so you can see what they offer. If we were to go to, let's say, Howard University's website or University of Maryland College Park, which are pretty large schools, and click under majors, you'd probably see well over 100. So when you're thinking about what type of school you want to go to, larger schools just offer you more, but the drawback is that you don't get that one-on-one personal attention. If you go to a small or medium-sized school, when you walk in, the professor will know your name. They will greet you. Hello, Eric. Hi, Michelle. I noticed you weren't in class last week. Is everything okay? If you attend a larger university, a Howard, a College Park, you oftentimes don't get that one-on-one relationship with your professor unless you pursue it, unless you're in their office hours, unless you are asking them about internships. You have to work to build the relationship at a larger school. When you attend a smaller school, a lot of the times the professor works to build a relationship with you. And so again, one of the benefits of going to a larger school, you have a ton of majors. I mean, I'm sure I could speak for Maryland and Howard. There's over like 100 majors, probably 200, minors. There's just a lot for you, but you're not getting that one-on-one. Bowie, there's not as many majors. 53 is still a lot, but it's not like 100 or 200 at a Penn State. But again, when you walk into a classroom in Bowie State, your professor will be able to greet you by your name. And so you've just got to figure out, part of figuring out the type of school you want to go to is figuring out what's more important. Is it more important for you to go to a Penn State where maybe, pre-COVID, obviously, you've got a football stadium that seats over 100,000 students. And if you go to a football game, there are literally over 100,000 people there with a Penn State sweatshirt on. Is that important? Is that more important to you? Or is it more important to you that when you walk in, a professor will greet you by name and say, oh, I know that you're really interested in XYZ. Let me give you some information about this internship. Because again, your professors are experts in their field. And so if you're interested in becoming a nurse, then your nursing professor probably has colleagues who are in the field and can, oh, okay, well, they've got this great internship at this hospital. I think you should apply. That's the kind of conversation that happens at a smaller or medium-sized school because they know you. At a larger university, a lot of the times you're just a number unless you work really hard. So again, just think about some of those things when figuring out the type of school you want to go to. Many people pick medium schools because it's kind of the best of both worlds. But just, when you're figuring out where you want to go to, think about that. And so we just really wanted to give you an idea, give you some pictures, show you what Bowie State looks like. We're going to be doing this for a couple different schools. It's a suburban, medium-sized school. So if you don't want to necessarily be too far from the city, and again, you kind of want professors that know your name, you don't want it to be too large, these are the type of schools that you want to think about. And part of the reason also we wanted to show you Bowie State is like, let's say you want to go to school out of state. Well, this is what a medium-sized suburban HBCU looks like. So maybe you can't necessarily visit a medium-sized suburban HBCU in Florida. You can visit Bowie State once, things have lifted a little bit and get an idea of what that's like. Maybe you want to go to Penn State and you can't get up there. Well, you can visit University of Maryland College Park, and it's a very similar atmosphere to a Penn State. So we want to show you different types of schools, and hopefully you can take that information and maybe apply it to a school out of state that you're interested in. And so, we just want to give you some information about Bowie State, and we hope you have enjoyed the tour, our virtual tour. And we are going to go back to our presentation, and pretty much we are going to have you complete a very quick scavenger hunt.